He said, look, I'd really like to do a story on...
Imagine a bank robber who escaped prison 3 times, twice evading death.
Can you give me, some information about some of the most serious criminals that you're looking for?
The mystery surrounding his escape will leave you shocked. Keep watching to uncover Willie Sutton's incredible story. Glenn Godwin. In 1980, Glenn Stewart Godwin and his roommate robbed a drug dealer, but things took a deadly turn when they murdered him to cover the crime. They tried to blow up the body but failed. Godwin was sentenced to 26 years to life, but he escaped in 1987, fleeing to Mexico. There, he was arrested for drug dealing but managed to kill an inmate, delaying extradition. In 1991, Godwin escaped again and has been on the run since. He was removed from the FBI's most wanted list in 2016, but authorities still believe he's hiding under an alias in Latin America, evading capture for over 3 decades. Alejandro Castillo. In August 2016, Alejandro Castillo brutally murdered his ex-girlfriend, Shaquan Sandy L. Lee, after a deadly love triangle. Castillo owed Lee money and lured her to a convenience store to repay the debt, but she was never seen again. After the murder, Castillo fled to Mexico with his accomplice and girlfriend, Amy Afer, who later turned herself in. Castillo remained at large for years. In 2023, the FBI increased the reward to $250,000 for information leading to his capture, but as of now, he's still evading justice. Anthony Brancato. In 1946, Anthony Brancato moved to Los Angeles, where his skills as an armed robber quickly caught the attention of the mob. He became involved in several murders, including that of mobster Bugsy Siegel. In 1951, Brancato and his partner, Anthony Trimino, robbed the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas. Just 2 days after the heist, Brancato surrendered. However, after being released from prison, mob boss Jack Dragna ordered his death. On August 6, 1951, Brancato and Trimino were shot and killed in their car, marking the tragic end of their notorious crime spree. Angela Davis. In 1970, Angela Davis, a member of the Communist Party, became one of the FBI's most wanted after being linked to the Marin County Courthouse shooting. The incident, involving weapons purchased by Davis, resulted in a judge's death. Though Davis was not directly involved, she was charged with kidnapping and murder, leading her to go into hiding. After 2 months, she was captured in New York. Davis was acquitted of the charges after her trial gained worldwide attention. Despite admitting to owning the guns, she claimed they were for self-defense and had been stolen. Yasser Syed. In 2008, Yasser Abdul Syed, an Egyptian immigrant, brutally murdered his 2 daughters, Amina and Sarah, for rejecting arranged marriages and dating non-Muslims. He shot them in his taxi, fleeing immediately afterward. For 12 years, Syed evaded capture, initially thought to have fled to Egypt. However, in 2020, he was arrested in Texas. After a lengthy trial, he was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. The case shocked the public, revealing the tragic consequences of honor-based violence. Willie Sutton. In 1950, Willie Sutton, one of America's most notorious bank robbers, was added to the FBI's most wanted list. Known for stealing approximately $2 million throughout his criminal career, Sutton's escape skills made him infamous. He escaped prison 3 times, each time getting back to his life of crime. After his 3rd escape in 1947, Sutton remained on the run until 1952, when he was recognized on a subway. He was captured and sentenced to 30 to 120 years in prison, but was released in 1969 due to poor health and good behavior. Donald Webb. In 1980, Donald Eugene Webb was involved in the murder of Saxonburg Police Chief Gregory Adams during a routine traffic stop. Webb shot Adams twice at close range, sparking a nationwide manhunt. He was added to the FBI's most wanted list in 1981, where he remained for 26 years. Despite being presumed dead in 1999, it wasn't until 2017 that Webb's death was confirmed after his wife revealed he had died of a stroke. His case remained unresolved for 37 years, leaving the Saxonburg community seeking closure. Ruja Ignatova. In 2014, Ruja Ignatova founded the cryptocurrency OneCoin, which turned out to be a massive pyramid scheme, defrauding investors of nearly $4 billion. When authorities began investigating, Ignatova disappeared in 2017, leaving behind a trail of swindled investors. A $5 million reward was offered for information leading to her capture. Despite rumors that she may have been murdered in 2018, no one knows her current whereabouts. Some believe she is living in hiding, while others suspect she may have been killed on the orders of a Bulgarian drug lord. Andrew Cunanan. In 1997, Andrew Cunanan went on a killing spree across 4 states, claiming the lives of 5 victims. He is most infamous for the murder of renowned fashion designer Gianni Versus on July 15, 1997, at the entrance of his mansion in Miami Beach, Florida. After the murder, Cunanan disappeared, and despite being on the FBI's most wanted list for over a month, he managed to lay low. Just a week after Versus's death, Cunanan took his own life, leaving the motive behind his rampage a mystery to this day. Robert Fisher. In 2002, Robert William Fisher allegedly murdered his wife and 2 children in Scottsdale, Arizona, before setting their house on fire in an attempt to cover up the crime. He then fled, rigging the house to explode and destroy evidence. Fisher was added to the FBI's most wanted list shortly after and remained on it for years. Despite numerous tips, his whereabouts remained unknown. In 2021, Fisher was removed from the list, though he is still a wanted fugitive. The brutal nature of his crime has kept the mystery of his escape alive. Ramzi Youssef. In 1993, Ramzi Youssef masterminded the World Trade Center bombing, which killed 6 people and injured over 1,000. Fleeing the U.S. shortly after the attack, Youssef was added to the FBI's most wanted list. He was also behind the Vojinka plot, a failed plan to assassinate Pope John Paul II and bomb 11 planes. Despite the failure of the plot, Youssef continued to evade capture for years. He was eventually arrested and extradited, serving a life sentence in the U.S. for his involvement in both the bombing and the terrorist plot. Ruth Eisman Scheer. In 1968, Ruth Eisman Scheer and her boyfriend Gary Stephen Christ kidnapped Barbara Jane Mickle, holding her in a ventilated box for 3 days. The crime shocked the nation, and Christ was caught 2 days later. However, Scheer remained on the run for months, appearing on the FBI's most wanted list. She was eventually captured and sentenced to prison, spending 4 years behind bars before being deported to her home country, Honduras. This kidnapping marked a chilling chapter in criminal history. Jason Brown. In 2004, Jason Derek Brown carried out a cold-blooded heist outside a movie theater, killing an armored car guard and stealing $56,000. Despite being involved in a violent robbery, Brown's surfer-like appearance made him a difficult target for authorities. After the murder, he fled across the United States, and sightings of him popped up in various states, but most turned out to be false. In 2022, Brown was removed from the FBI's most wanted list, yet he remains at large, still evading capture after 18 years on the run. James Kopp. In 1998, James Charles Kopp, an anti-abortion militant, murdered Dr. Barnett Slepian, an abortion provider, in his own home in New York. After the murder, Kopp fled to Mexico and later to Ireland before finally ending up in France. He was arrested in 2001 and extradited back to the U.S., where he was convicted of the murder. Authorities suspect he was also involved in other similar killings in the U.S. and Canada. Kopp was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Leslie Raji. In 1984, Leslie Isbin-Roji began his criminal career, robbing banks across the U.S., from Florida to Missouri. After being convicted, he escaped in 1985 and continued his crime spree, robbing more banks and stealing over $2 million. His exploits kept him ahead of authorities for years. In 2001, Raji's picture was recognized by someone in Guatemala, leading to his capture. He was placed back in prison and is set to remain there until 2034. The story doesn't end here. Next, we're diving deep into the terrifying story of a family that vanished overnight. You won't believe what happens. Don't miss out. Subscribe to our channel and hit that bell to stay ahead of the curve. Every story is more jaw-dropping than the last. Keep watching, or you'll regret missing the next shocking reveal. Trust me, you don't want to.